Hi, my name is Sarah, and I'm wanting to make a video here about what it's like to come home after living abroad for any period of time. I just came back from Israel about 2.5 weeks ago and had been living there for basically a year. One thing I've noticed is it's a weird adjustment, and for anybody else who's lived abroad for really any amount of time, I wonder if you've noticed that you found a home in the place that you've lived abroad, and then coming to the place that you were before feels really different. I really had a hard time in Israel at first with the language, the difference in culture, and for the first couple of months I was really missing my home in the US. I was really missing my family, and that struggle was a lot of up and down. Eventually, though, I did find that I was really happy in Israel. And not every day, but I felt independent and I felt free. I felt like I had my own ground that I was standing on. And that was a really validating and empowering feeling for me. It was like a discovery that the way my mind operated and my whole system operated could be fully functional and in a different way than I was used to from living in my home environment back in the US. And I saw a therapist in Israel and I found that really helpful. I started to see someone maybe about 3 months into my time being there, and that made a huge difference. I didn't want to leave when it came to the end of my year in Israel. I was I was really sad. And when I came home, I came home about 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago. When I came home, I felt like I was in a fog. And I don't know if anyone else has felt that. I know people talk about reverse culture shock. People talk about taking time to adjust, um, and kind of feeling confused or just like, the jet lag too. But I don't know. I guess I was really out of it for maybe 5 days, 6 days. I just didn't feel like I was present. I wasn't here in my home, this place I grew up. And I didn't feel like I was still in Israel because I knew I had left, but I was in this weird in between. And if anybody else has felt like that, I would love to hear about it. It was really strange. And even now, I guess I'm still kind of struggling with it because I'm getting more used to being home, being in a country where I know the language again and I can drive, and I'm more in this comfort zone. But I still really miss Israel, and I'm still trying to kind of figure out how to hold on to things that I learned there and that I had there. I guess I'm sad because I feel like I'm already forgetting a lot of things about Israel. Like there was this initial shock, all the things I knew when I was in Israel, and the things I did there, the things I loved, the people I knew, the places I walked and was familiar with. That was so present. That was so everyday for me while I was living there. And then all of a sudden, just getting on a plane and 11 and a half hours later, that was all gone, or that was all different. And it was a shock. It was just it took me out of my element, and I didn't expect it to be that jarring. And so I think that's almost why I was in that fog, because I arrived here in America again, And the amount of time I had been gone was significant. And I also was just so present in that place in Israel. And to come back here where there was a part of me that still felt that presence, that wanted to be in that presence in Israel. It was just like two separate parts. One was kind of still wanting to be in Israel. One was like, oh, okay, I recognize this place, being home. But at the same time, I didn't really recognize it. You know, I had this familiarity feeling and a newness all at once because it didn't look the same and it didn't feel the same as when I had lived here previously before I went abroad. And I guess I just don't know what to do with that. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to see if anybody else feels similarly when they went abroad and then returned. I want to stop saying come back because I remember somebody told me this once, like there's no really coming back. You know, you go live in another country and you you return eventually, maybe not. But if you return to your home, it's not really coming back because the place that you were before, the person that you were before, it's changed. And I think I'm understanding that now. There's a part of me though that wants to revert back to what I remember because I do, I have these memories of what it was like to live here in Vermont where I'm from. And it's like this familiarity that just wants to kind of come forward and say, okay, like you fit back into this place that you were before and it's the same. And I don't want that because I learned a lot while I was living in Israel. I learned a lot about who I am as a person and what happens when I get myself out of this bubble of comfort zone. So I guess I just want to keep talking and saying things about what I've learned because I want it to be out there and I want to be thinking about it and aware of the lessons and the journey that I learned and was on in Israel, that I can still have those things with me even if I'm not there anymore, that I can still hold a lot of those things, and that I'm not the same person that I was before I left. So I guess I'm just curious, if anybody else has lived abroad, anywhere, anytime. What was your experience when you returned? Did you return? Did you stay? Um, and has anybody else kind of felt that pull of familiarity and newness and being kind of in a fog and not really sure how to sort through and process the difference of living somewhere so foreign and so new and then coming home and being in this familiar place and trying to connect between those and find your person in the middle. If anybody has any thoughts or comments, share them and let me know. And I'll be making some more videos. In the meantime, I hope everybody is staying safe and healthy, and I'll talk to you soon.